In all honesty, I feel like this video is massively overdue. And it's not necessarily that I didn't want to do it, but it's that I was kind of putting it off for other stuff that I wanted to do, and I kept putting it off, and putting it off. This is a what if that honestly has been suggested quite a bit, and it's what if Venom was in the boys universe. And I would assume that the main reason why this has been getting suggested, or kind of my breakdown on it is being suggested, is because, well, if you look at Butcher's powers toward the end of the most recent season, it's very symbiote alien-esque type of thing. And it's very, very interesting to look at it and the way it works. And it's how like this weird creature that lives within Butcher, and Venom, or at least the symbiote, is somewhat similar, but a lot more perfected. Now, there's a couple ways you could really look at this possibly happening, or Venom basically entering the universe. You could start by something simple as maybe Vought experiment going wrong, maybe more to the side of they tried to actually either stop Compound V's side effect and it created this weird living symbiote, but also could be basically their way of trying to kill supes or superheroes and trying to use Compound V as a way of creating this creature or this substance that would go into the system of a superhero or a supe and eliminate them from the inside out. Or you could go the more traditional way of Venom or the symbiote, which is an alien crash landing. Maybe a meteor of some sort crashing down in the States or some other place outside of the United States. And you have this kind of odd looking kind of thing that is gooey and interesting. So scientists decide that they're going to pick it up and they're going to do stuff with it. So they decide to kind of start researching it, look into it, and they realize that it's very lifelike. This kind of weird thing is actually a creature. It's living, it's an actual living being. They don't know where it's from. They don't know how it got here, or they know how it got here technically, but they don't know how it got on the meteor in the first place. Like, how would a symbiote or this creature or this goo-like thing that is a substance but also kind of living, how would it actually end up getting here? Like, what would it have to do? How would it get on the meteor? How would it get on this thing that would travel away? It would have to be sentient to a certain degree, that it has to be smart enough to actually do just that. It has to be smart enough to use a meteor as essentially a ride, which that's literally what happens. That's literally what the symbiote ends up doing, taking a ride on a meteor to actually get to this planet, or the planet we know as Earth, which is a pretty interesting idea. And if the scientists are as smart as they claim to be, they would eventually come to that conclusion that Venom or this symbiote is actually here by choice, and it must be searching for something or must be doing something. So after years of testing, trying to figure anything out, they would most likely come up empty-handed. At the end of the day, we are dealing with kind of this creature, this symbiote or this extraterrestrial, that nobody knows about. Nobody knows a single thing about it. And frankly, they probably don't even have the equipment to really understand what this thing can do, what this thing does, and what it can actually do to completion. Maybe they would understand the small aspects, like how it basically can control and take over a host, and maybe they would do things with like little bunny rabbits to maybe other animals that are basically testable, and they would do that over and over again, and they would see some things happening, but that's about it. They wouldn't see anything else outside of that. But one day the screens would crack, the power keeping this creature here would waver, and out of nowhere the symbiote would get out. Now, how would the symbiote leave and escape? Well, there's a couple ways you could kind of approach that. I mean, we are talking about a symbiote that can basically hide in plain sight and hide within other people. So you could maybe have him be put within someone else in terms of a host, go in and out of different hosts until it arrives at a central location that could potentially be good. Now, in terms of a power dynamic, Venom or the symbiote would be absolutely scary. Because who would be perfect for the symbiote? Well, I think for starters, it's pretty obvious to say that if you gave the symbiote to a soup or a superhero, it wouldn't really work amazingly, in my opinion. Especially if we're taking this on the idea of it being an alien crash landing and not like some lab experiment gone wrong. Because I honestly can see the compound V within the blood and the DNA and all this other stuff not really working properly with some of the soups. So we probably won't get a Venom Homelander, you could say. Now, I will say a Venom Homelander would be pretty damn crazy, but you can also make the assumption that Venom needs, or the symbiote needs, really the perfect host to truly stay alive. Because if he doesn't have the perfect host, then things could go really, really downhill. Now, how would Venom or the symbiote fit into the story? Well, I could see him fitting into the story kind of the same way all the boys people and all the people there were basically trying to find the hero killing virus. So since they all were trying to find it and do this and do that and captivate this hero killing virus, of course, I could see them doing the same thing or something very similar with Venom or the symbiote. The symbiote would be basically perfect to try and take down some of these heroes. Yes, does it have kind of its negatives? Yes, of course. It has some affliction to sound and fire and stuff like that, but there is no solid proof that they couldn't overcome this, or that the powers that Venom would actually be able to give somebody would be beyond comprehension, to the point that the Venom symbiote might actually help them more than actually hurt them. Because yes, it does give weaknesses like, you know, your fires and your sounds and stuff like that, and of course that is very relevant. But we're talking a powerful being that, if actually given a proper host, it could be absolutely over for some of these people. Some people, like your Homelanders, wouldn't stand a chance. But just to throw in the mix a possible bond for Venom, let's start with someone that I don't really believe will be able to bond with Venom, and that's Homelander. If you did have Homelander with Venom, it would become an absolute tyrannical godlike figure. Someone who basically could amplify anything in his power, but also have all these insecurities that maybe even the symbiote would feed off of, would whisper those sweet nothings in his ear that he is better than everyone else. He is stronger than everyone else. Everyone should be kneeling, bowing, and so on and so forth. He should be their leader, their rightful leader, and the only leader to exist. So that could be a scary, scary thing if you gave it to Homelander. Same thing if you gave it to someone like Soldier Boy. Soldier Boy, yes, isn't necessarily a tyrannical type of ruler, or someone who wants to kind of stand on top of everyone, or someone who cares about proving and being the strongest among every single person and showing that he is basically the best among all the best and everybody is so much beneath him. He's not like that. But with Venom, it would be pretty scary. I mean, he kind of already lashes out and has a horrible temper. I mean, we saw what he did to Black Noir. So who's to say that if he had Venom, he would, for one, be able to beat Homelander? That's no joke. I mean, we already saw how close they actually got to defeating Homelander, so he'd be able to beat him. But on top of that, his power, his anger, his arrogance, everything would be amplified insanely. But like I said, I don't think anybody with Compound V can actually be bonded with the symbiote, at least in a perfect unison or a perfect like weapon. What I think would be perfect is having Billy Butcher have the symbiote. It would be pretty insane, I know, but having Butcher have the symbiote would have been like another layer to the storyline. So we saw a whole storyline where he's shoveling Compound V, Temp V to basically keep up with Homelander. And that's what he needed to do. But what if this time around he didn't start shoveling Compound V? What if he didn't start trying to get this temporary V so that he could be strong and blah, blah, blah? What if he decided that they were going to use something known as a symbiote? He was going to let it bond with him, and he was going to do whatever it took to stop the soups. And that's exactly what would happen. Just like how we saw what happened when that creature of some sorts basically took over Butcher, Venom could do something very similar. Venom knows how Butcher would actually feel about Supes, believing that every single one of them needs to perish, needs to be gone, and they need to get rid of all of them. So with that in mind, Venom would be able to basically increase all of those feelings, those wants, just like how we saw it in the last season of The Boys. We saw those feelings from this kind of gross looking creature that is living within him kind of enhance these wants to absolutely obliterate all Supes. And that's very similar to what's going to happen with Venom. Venom would be able to enhance those feelings, enhance those wants, but also give him the power to do whatever he wanted. And I'm gonna be honest, Billy Butcher kind of gives me that vibe of someone who would be kind of the perfect host for, well, Venom. And it would be insane to see a more, a bigger version of Venom, maybe a big version of Venom, like your normal Venom that we've seen, take on someone like Homelander, well, someone like Soldier Boy, and some of these other Supes. I mean, it would be insane, and it'd be an insane freaking fight. And on top of that, we know Billy Butcher has combat training, has training in different things as well, but also the fact that he doesn't have any fear of killing. He's not like some versions of Eddie Brock where he's trying to be a somewhat good person. He's not trying to go out of his way to straight up kill people, but Venom, he would be able to eat people as he wishes. I mean, anything that he needs to do to supplement his power, his body, and also supplement them overall, Venom would be allowed to do so. And on top of that, well, Butcher would have no regrets and no remorse when it comes to Supes. I mean, that's probably who they would target. They'd probably avoid the normal people, but the Supes, like part of the Seven, people that are like, on the rise of being a superhero or this or that, people that are massively corrupt. We've seen tons and tons and tons of Supes who are massively corrupt. Venom would want to eat and devour them very, very, very fast. And that's what's going to happen. This would be their ticket to somehow taking down Homelander. Let's just say that this was after the normal kind of season of basically Soldier Boy trying to take down Homelander, and then it all went awry and so on and so forth. But now he decides to put away everything, put aside everything. He no longer cares. All he wants to see and all he wants to do is fell or make every single Supe fall. And that's what he's going to damn do. He's gonna make every single Supe perish, every single Supe die, every single Supe fall to their knees. And they're gonna be able to do that as Venom. And this would be insane. It would be an insane, brutal, disgusting display of power, and he'd rip people to shreds. I mean, we thought the Victoria Newman death was scary and gross and also brutal. No. Venom and Billy Butcher would butcher. Literally butcher Supe after Supe, and it would be like superhero hunting to a large extent. But this is really if the symbiote landed in his hands. Really, it would be funny to land in the hands of, well, kind of in Venom's words, someone who is more of a loser, which, of course, Butcher, to a large extent, is a pretty big loser, but he has had his moments. Someone who is legitimately like a loser, and we have grown from day one, episode 1 of The Boys, to know that Huey Campbell is quote-unquote like a loser, and he didn't really stick up for himself, and he didn't really do this. Imagine if Huey got Venom earlier on, as he basically progressed within this superhero world, and they became a crime-fighting duo. And this would be more like your Sony's Venom, Eddie Brock Venom-esque Huey and Venom, right? This would be more like that. But Huey is definitely no Eddie Brock, but Huey's also very, very intelligent in terms of how to properly approach things. Maybe he would understand how to utilize the symbiote properly, but he would also not want to actually kill things necessarily with the symbiote, but that would also kind of add an extra layer to Huey, where he doesn't feel like he needs the help of everyone else all the time to stay alive and to stay safe. I mean, we saw it for a lot of the boys series, that he had a really hard issue with Starlight basically protecting him all the time and him not being able to save her once in a while, which is the reality of it when one has superpowers and one doesn't. But still, Huey, that might help him with that idea. But I think if we're talking about a more brutal and more disgusting and also absolute chaos version of Venom and or the symbiote bonding with somebody, Butcher is the best choice. If we're talking about someone who is maybe a little bit less or a little bit more tame, a little bit less kind of chaotic, someone who's going to still have that goodness in his heart, Huey with the symbiote would definitely be a pretty crazy thing to do as well, giving him even more purpose, but giving him powers that would allow him to kind of stick up to some of the stronger people in the verse and or killing a lot of the people in the verse. Because at the end of the day, the symbiote has a hunger and bloodlust that would be very perfect for the boys' kind of gritty tone. And Venom itself, like if he continued to skip host to host or found a host that was absolutely psychotic, which that's why we brought up the whole Homelander thing, I mean, it would turn everything on its freaking head. I mean, we would continue to kind of have this moral corruption, at least that theme around the boys, because everybody in the boys, there's really nobody who's necessarily a good person. Now Huey, Starlight is, you know, they're pretty good people, but they have their mistakes. They have made their mistakes, so they don't necessarily, or they're not necessarily the most perfect people in the world. But I will say, hands down, having a Billy Butcher Venom facing off with Homelander, a confrontation between this giant creature that is like this alien symbiote facing off with Homelander would be some crazy thing to watch. But I must admit, Venom would be not only very, very good and fit pretty well into this universe, but also he would definitely create some insane chaos, but also absolutely destroy practically every soup you possibly can think of, because Venom is that strong. That symbiote, the symbiote that crash landed from a freaking meteor from the skies above, is really that powerful. Now, of course, it is based off of the host for the most part, and well, sort of. If you have a proper host, it definitely helps quite a bit, but it could cause for some absolute scary things to happen, because we know that Venom could be connected to some other people as well. We know one by the name of Carnage, so you never know what could truly happen, and Venom could truly throw the boys for an absolute loop. If it's with the soups, if it's with Vought, if it's with the boys themselves, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to die, and that's the reality when Venom would step into the universe of the boys. But I would love to hear what you guys have to say. Who do you think would be the best choice for Venom to bond with, or for the symbiote to bond with? Do you think somehow the symbiote would bond with one of the soups? Do you think there's no way? Do you think it would be Billy Butcher? Would it be Huey? Would it be someone else? Would it be Mother's Milk? I don't know. Anybody you could think. Would it be Kamiko? I don't know. But let me know your reasoning and what you think about the topic, and what do you think Venom or the symbiote would bring to the universe of the boys. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. With that said, though, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you enjoyed, leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. And if you enjoyed this video, YouTube believes you'll enjoy this one, so might as well go check it out.